All right, let's talk about something we all think about: willpower. Most of us see it as this magical gift. You've either got it or you don't. But what if I told you that's completely wrong? What if willpower is actually a skill? And even crazier, what if it's a physical part of your brain that, in our comfortable modern world, is literally shrinking? So, this is a quote from David Goggins. You might know him, retired Navy SEAL, ultramarathon runner, basically a professional hard ass. And when you hear that, it sounds awful, right? I mean, who would ever choose a life where everything sucks? Here's where we need to shift our thinking. Let's stop looking at Goggins as some kind of genetic freak we're all supposed to copy. Instead, think of him as a human lab rat. His entire life is this extreme experiment, and it reveals a fascinating scientific truth about what it really takes for us to grow, not just mentally, but physically inside our own skulls. Because you have to understand, this guy wasn't born a machine, not even close. He was built from the absolute wreckage of his former life. Back in his early 20s, he was spraying for cockroaches on a night shift, making barely any money, dealing with serious learning disabilities, and was just deeply, deeply insecure. And on top of all that, he weighed almost 300 pounds. Yeah, let that sink in. This was not a man who was primed for greatness. This was his starting line. And it's so important to get a picture of just how far back he started to really understand the science of how he changed. Okay, so here comes the science part. It's really cool. Deep inside your brain, there's this little structure called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. It's a mouthful, so let's just call it the AMCC. Neuroscientists are getting really excited about this area because they're starting to see it as the actual physical hardware for your willpower, for grit. Some even call it the will to live. Now, here is the one rule you have to remember about the AMCC. Doing things you enjoy, even if they're really hard, like training for a marathon because you love running, that doesn't grow it. This part of your brain gets bigger, it gets stronger only when you voluntarily force yourself to do things you genuinely do not want to do. It literally feeds on friction. And this isn't just a theory, you can actually see it in brain scans. When scientists look, they find that high-level athletes have a physically larger, thicker AMCC. And on the flip side, obese individuals tend to have a smaller one. It's like a direct biological footprint of a person's history with pushing through resistance. But here's the catch, and it is a big one. This whole brain-changing thing, neuroplasticity, it works both ways. The engine of willpower isn't something you build up once and then just have forever. If you stop seeking out that friction, if you let yourself get too comfortable, your AMCC can and it will shrink. It's the ultimate use it or lose it scenario. And that, right there, is why Goggins lives by that no days off philosophy. He gets it. He knows his willpower isn't some permanent trophy. He knows deep down that the second he lets himself get comfortable, his own brain will start to regress, pulling him right back to being that 300-pound guy working a job he hated. So if friction is the how you build the engine, what's the fuel? What's the why? I mean, our entire culture is built around chasing the carrot, right? The promotion, the praise, the reward you get at the finish line. Goggins' life flips that whole idea on its head. He shows us that true, relentless strive, the kind that never quits, it doesn't come from chasing something good. It comes from running away from something absolutely terrifying. It's not about the carrot. It's all about the stick. So what's Goggins' stick? He's not running towards a finish line. He's running away from the horror film of his own past. He is haunted by the man he used to be, by the potential he was wasting. And that haunting, that's the fuel for his willpower engine. It never runs out. He has a really powerful way of thinking about this. He calls all those dark parts of our mind, the failures, the insecurities, the ugly truths we try to forget, he calls them the cupboards. Now, most of us, we spend our entire lives making sure those cupboard doors stay locked, bolted, and boarded up. We do not want to see what's inside. Goggins' whole practice is built on kicking those doors open every single morning. He confronts what's in there and uses it. And this spring cleaning isn't some vague idea. It takes the form of an inner dialogue, a debate, really. He hears that weak voice in his head that says, it's too early, or let's just skip it today. But instead of ignoring it, he confronts it. He argues back with a stronger voice until he wins that argument every single day. So what's the prize for all this daily suffering? It's not a medal. It's not another person patting you on the back. The real reward is something you build inside yourself, something you can carry everywhere. He calls it the internal medicine cabinet. This cabinet is filled with proof. Every time you choose the hard path, Every time you win that inner argument, you are storing away a victory. It becomes the source of unshakable confidence. You get to a point where you don't need to watch a motivational video because you can just reach into your own documented history of overcoming hard things. So the process is simple to understand, but it is not easy to do. First, you have to find the friction. Seek out the thing you really don't want to do. Second, you have to win that inner war against the voice that wants comfort. And third, you consciously bank that win. You file it away as proof that you are resilient. Ultimately, this isn't really about motivation. It's about biology. Tomorrow morning, your alarm is going to go off. And that feeling of, ugh, I don't want to get up, that's friction. That's your opportunity. And the choice you make in that moment isn't just about your mood. It's a biological decision. Are you going to feed that engine of willpower, or are you going to let it atrophy?